Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
And welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. I have a great show for you today. My name is Doug Brown. I'm your host for today. I'm your host for every episode of DABCC Radio. I'm the DAB and the CC, and we have a great episode for you today. We're starting off a slew of a few different podcasts I'm going to do with the folks over at Tricerat and sort of dive into what these guys are doing, the problems they're solving, the solutions and technologies they have to solve those problems. And then also maybe even talk a bit about trying to get them to do a fun podcast with me about, the predictions for 2018, where we've been, why we do what we do, and where they see it. These guys are some smart folks. I've known them for a long time, and they're just really great people. So I'm looking forward to that also. And so stay tuned for a handful of podcasts with these guys. I think you guys will enjoy it. But today we have a podcast about a new technology they're releasing, or they have released, excuse me. And, I won't steal Andrew's thunder. So today we have Andrew, the CTO from Tricerat, with us, and he's going to share with us, their new solution. So with no further ado, let's just dive into it. So shall we? We shall. Okay, Andy. Or Andy? Do I call you Andy or Andrew?
Andrew.
Yeah, I just called you Andy. I was so casual. I just simplified your name. What the hell was I doing? See? That's how much fun I'm having. Okay. Let me stop laughing. Because what's really weird is when you start laughing at the intro, then I have to laugh at the end of the intro to make it fit together.
Oh.
Which is really weird.
Yeah.
And I do it too. I'm like, I practice. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Okay. Okay, Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to do a few podcasts with you guys, and so let's get into it. So as always, my first question is, who are you? So who are you, and what do you do over at Tricerat?
Hi, Doug. Yes, thank you. I'm Andrew Parlette. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Tricerat. I've worked here for about 17 years now, so for most of the time that the company's been around, and obviously I've seen quite the evolution in our market space with virtualization and all forms of technology. So as CTO, and over the years, I've worked with the development teams to develop the products that we have, and also the engineering teams to take those products out and make them solutions for our customers, and work closely with our customers to make sure that that's all successful, and that we're really delivering on our promise to simplify their job and to make the administration that they do day in and day out for their users easier.
That's 17 years. Man, time flies, doesn't it? So when you started at Tricerat, what was your job? Did you come in as a CTO or?
No, I came in as a software developer. We were a small shop at that point, and started working on the original printing and desktop management products there. But yeah, worked part of the development team and moved up from there.
Very cool. I remember old Tricerat. So I've known John forever. I used to very much enjoy seeing him at the early summits and iForums back in the day. And back then, I think we both smoked, and so we go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe he'd just watch me smoke. And we'd go outside and have a cigarette and chat. And those conversations is always so much fun. So, okay.
Yeah, Tricerat's actually been around 20 years. This past summer, we celebrated that and look back at some of that time and how we got our start as a spinoff from Avar, and working with some of those early customers, John being one of them, who then took the reins over at Tricerat. And then our early sponsorships with Citrix and being part of their partner network from those early iForums and such. And that really shaped the path of our company and the products that we wrote and why we did what we did.
You got it. So that being said, Tell us the Tricerat story. My second question is always tell me about the company, as anyone who's ever listened knows. So tell me about Tricerat. Maybe you can give the story about how it was founded, where it came from, and then, of course, what are you guys trying to accomplish today?
Yeah, from the early days, it was right alongside Citrix, and as the Citrix Metaframe at the time and WinFrame were starting to take off, some of the challenges that administrators were facing there. Obviously, the great advantages of those platforms, but then some of the challenges that came with it. So, Tricerat was formed just to tackle some of those problems and make it an easier and better experience, smoother and more consistent for the end users. So, in the early days, there was a lot of desktop management and application management, but from early on, printing showed to be a real major issue in those platforms, and so that's really where Tricerat found itself on the map, is working on those printing problems. Screwdrivers was our landmark product that really solved the remote printing challenges in unique ways and successful ways. And so over the years, we've obviously enhanced that product line, but added to it, spawned off new products from that to further the management of printing throughout the enterprise. And that might be a remote printer from a client mapping into a remote session in a shared desktop or a virtual desktop. Print server management, and so taking print servers that are already in the environment and managing those printing. Even now to recent days, managing what mobile devices access from iOS and Android, and the whole slew of devices that have now come into the enterprise and still need that same level of consistent enterprise printing. So there's a range of products that Tricerat makes. We call it the Simplified suite that encapsulates all those, but certainly here today we're looking at talking about our printing line and specifically a new product that we've come out with.
Well, great. It's amazing how printing, back in the day when I met you guys, and my earliest days, printing was the biggest problem there was. And today, I wouldn't say it's the biggest problem there is, but it's still one of the problems that, if you have an issue, and you probably do, especially with managing of it, it's a big issue because it's something that, I'll ask you the question. So, how has printing changed within the past 20 years?
Well, you're certainly, I think, speaking towards that answer as far as certainly years back, there was just a problem of getting printing to work.
Yeah.
And that was the purpose of the solution, is for a user to be able to connect a printer and have a print job come out. Today, there is still some of that, and so that hasn't gone away completely. We still have a wide range of drivers and print devices, new and old, a wide range of capabilities of those print drivers, different ways that users are accessing them. So we definitely see a need still out there for just issues printing, getting that paper to move, where I have an application on a session somewhere and I need it to come out of a printer somewhere else, and getting that print job successfully there. So absolutely, that is still a use case that we see frequently, and we're able to help customers and users of our software with. But there is that management aspect, and this is something that everyone can relate to. The time it takes to do that management, whether it's going from desktop to desktop, installing individual print drivers, or dealing with the wide range of drivers on a print server and the performance of that print server, distributing these print queues and managing it in a way, oftentimes with the native built-in tools, that takes a lot of time. And help desk calls are coming in of users moving and needing to change printers and so on and so forth. And so there's an opportunity to have a drastic reduction in the amount of time that administrators spend on just managing printing, just very mundane things that need to happen for business. But there's ways to do that more efficiently and better, and time savings. And that time savings obviously translates to ROI. That can be money that's realized from taking administrators' times that are spending so much time on these printing challenges, moving it off to a help desk staff, and freeing up your staff to do some of the more serious engineering work of your environment.
You got it. And then also today, there's more, in the past, we printed to our local machines, right? Or maybe from a network printer. Nowadays, we have mobile printing and, cloud printing and a bunch of other, the world's not the same as it was 20 years ago as far as, where the users were, right? We talked
Yeah,
about any, but it wasn't truly as it is today.
Yeah, any is expanding rapidly. And those hybrid environments, never do you have, well, I shouldn't say never, but rarely is it the case where you have a single platform and a single technology in use. It's almost always hybrid. And certainly as environments grow in number, the complexities expand. And that's where having management tools that can simplify that and also make it consistent across that wide range of platforms and devices and everything else. That's where the advantages really come into play.
You got it. So let's cut to it. Tricerat's coming out with a new printing product. What is it? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so this is the next product in our line of printing products in our portfolio. We call it Simplified Driver Management, or you might hear me refer to it as SDM, Simplified Driver Management. So this product is specifically for managing print drivers on desktops. And it's a serverless solution, meaning there's no print server involved. You can eliminate print servers using this. And so on the desktop, we can manage the driver that needs to be deployed to that desktop for a certain printer, build the print queue on that desktop, and then have the print job print directly to the IP address of that printer over the network. So it's still using the Simplified console, a very easy management interface for administrators to define what printers go out to what users. And then from that database, we have contained in there the drivers that are necessary, the configuration information for the printer, and everything that's necessary for that desktop for a user to log in, get the correct printer, and be able to print directly to that printer. So a very easy, quick management solution for those endpoints.
So in what use case would this fit compared to, what you already have? Why would you want to go printer or, serverless?
Well, there's a few different cases where it makes a lot of sense. One is in the case where you do need to eliminate print servers, or perhaps you don't have print servers in the environment. The print servers are giving certain challenges with the drivers or even just the functionality of that Windows box. And so it gives administrators the option to enable this direct IP printing so that their users have that optimized path from their desktop to the printer without other resources in the middle between that. So it gives administrators that opportunity in their environment to eliminate those servers if necessary. The other case where we see this very effective is in the case of remote environments. So maybe you do have print servers operating very effectively within your data center and within your large offices, but then you have certain remote areas that for certain reasons, either you can't or don't desire to send a print server, something that needs to be managed, out to those remote locations. You can now do that without a print server. And you gain the advantage of then not having to send print jobs from that remote location over the WAN to your data center and all the way back out to that remote location. Print traffic can then reside local to those areas. So you do get the optimized printing in those areas as well.
How does an administrator maintain this? Can you describe the administrative workflow, and then of course at the same time maybe what it takes to get this thing up and running also?
Sure. So it is backed by a SQL database, just like our other products. It does use a SQL Server database, and that database contains the information for the printer configuration and also the drivers. So we do have a tool that comes with the product that is a driver import tool. And so you can run this on a Windows desktop, and it sees all the drivers that are local on that system. And it's just a checkbox. You can go down the list or hit a button to read them all in. And within seconds, you can read a print driver, captures the information from the local system, and uploads it into that database. So we then have the information for that driver, everything we need to know to then deploy that out. So if you have an existing print server that maybe you're decommissioning, you can just run this on there, read all those drivers in, you have them in the database. If you have a desktop that has those printers installed, that's where you can run this to get those drivers into that database. And then, like I mentioned, we have the Simplified console. That's our management interface that if you've seen Simplified printing, for instance, you'd be very used to this interface. It's a drag and drop interface where you can define a printer, the associated driver, and the IP address for that printer. You assign that or you build that as an object in the Simplified console, and then it's a simple drag and drop operation to assign those printers to a user or device that needs it. So for users, we integrate with the Active Directory. So you can assign it directly to a user, to an OU, to a group. Basically the same security configuration that you would give a user. You can now put printing into that same architecture. And then if you wanted to assign it to a device instead of a user, we can assign it to a client, to a server they're logging into. We can assign by IP range, so where the client is connecting from, like if it's a laptop and moving between subnets, we'll automatically give it the correct printer based on that subnet. So a very simple drag and drop to assign that printer to a user or device. And then at the point of login on the desktop simply communicates to the SQL server, a single SQL query, to get the information about what printer should be assigned and the driver. It then builds that driver on the local desktop and is ready to print. And then, of course, the print job stays local and it's a direct IP to the printer. Now, that's all the initial configuration. For updates, when drivers need to be updated, it's just a matter of going in, importing the new driver, and you'll see in the tool the version of the driver, and then when it's in the database, you'll see the new version of the driver. You then go into that printer in the Simplified console, update the driver, save the changes, and instantly every login now is using that updated driver. So you've got that one spot to easily manage the drivers in use throughout your entire environment.
Tricerat's traditionally been, a universal print driver company, right? Why the switch? Is it a switch? Are there use cases for both?
There's certainly use cases for both, and we haven't abandoned by any means our virtual driver and screwdrivers and simplified printing. And we'll get to that in a little bit, how they actually work together and as an advantage to Tricerat in our story. However, to start with why we did simplified driver management and this direct IP printing and not using the virtual driver, earlier in the conversation I mentioned there are certain environments where having this direct IP printing without a print server or without the need for a remote connection over RDP or ICA or these sorts of things. There's desktops that need basic print driver management where the administrator doesn't need or want to go out to every one of these drivers or every one of these desktops to manage the drivers. So if you're just talking about Windows desktop management, this is the most effective, easy way to manage the drivers on there and to make printing effective. So we've heard from our customer base, we've heard from the marketplace when we're at various conferences and such. There are some environments where this scenario does make great sense, and so we developed this product that works either in a standalone way or with the rest of Simplified Printing. If you have desktops to manage printing on, and certainly if you want to eliminate and reduce the need for print servers, then this is something that can easily layer onto your existing environment and be very effective management.
Talk me through the different printing offerings you guys have and when customers would want to use each. Sound fair?
Okay, so I've mentioned simplified printing and screwdrivers. They're similar in nature as far as they deploy a virtual print driver that can dynamically configure itself like any other remote driver. But that driver has to exist somewhere. That has to exist either on a client device that's connecting into your remote session, or it has to be on a print server, and then we'll use that print server driver from the virtual desktop. So in those scenarios, if you've got VDI, if you've got shared hosted desktops, if you've got desktops in a main environment that does have print servers currently deployed, that is a great product to layer onto that type of environment and to be the most effective printing. You don't have to install drivers on a VDI machine that's spinning up every time. You still have full access to the advanced print features by showing the native dialog from the print server. So there's the same management advantages as far as the easy assignments, but the user advantage also still gets optimal login times and optimal printing performance. In contrast, simplified driver management, where the driver does get saved into the database for desktops and remote environments that do just need direct printing, where the virtual driver isn't as much of an advantage, we now can deploy the advantage of having that driver installed locally on the desktop and having direct IP printing and optimal performance. So depending on that infrastructure that you have, our products can layer on a variety of different environment types And if you have a hybrid environment, as we talked about, most everyone does, you may have cases where you have users logging into your VDI or their hosted desktops where that virtual driver is the best possible way for users to print and for administrators to manage that printing. But you also have different remote sites that do not have print service and do not have managed services where this kind of direct IP printing makes the most sense. And all of it can be managed from within that same management console in the Simplify console. So your entire print management now has that consistent interface and the consistent ease of use.
So I imagine, I mean, basically what you said is the various products somewhat work together. Can they be used together? It's what's your philosophy? What's the philosophy there?
Yeah, we see it both ways. And speaking with our customers, we're seeing it used both ways. So it is available as a standalone product, just simplified driver management by itself and licensed accordingly. So if that's the need, the driver management with direct printing, then that can be the solution that's deployed. Simplified printing obviously is available by itself, or a license can be obtained to use both together. And it's just per user and based on where the user's connecting from and what the endpoint has installed on it, they can all live together and be managed together in that same infrastructure.
So this product, it's out now. If somebody wants to learn more, what do they need to do? Evals, things like that?
Yeah, so obviously Tricerat.com is the place to start. There is information there and a little more technical details as far as how it works and what you need to use it. We do have a 30-day trial, so from that website you can click the button to find out more and to download a trial, and a trial license for 30 days will be sent to you. That's a fully functional 30-day license. And we do offer full technical support during that trial period. So if you like what you see and you want to give it a shot in your environment, obviously testing it in your local environment is always the best step, because then you can see how the Simplify console works for your users and your devices, the management efficiencies that you can gain through that method. Also, how it performs on your network. How does the driver download and install on a desktop? How does the print job work to the printer? And you can see all that very quickly and easily. It's a very simple install with the product. But please contact us. We have engineers that are willing to walk you through that, give you full support, and make sure that you're fully functional for that 30 days while you take a look and find out how the product works in your environment.
I love it. I love it. It's very simple. I guess the Simplify, it keeps with the slogan, right?
That's what we're going for. Absolutely.
Exactly. Is there anything we left out? Anything else you'd like to share with us about it?
No, I think that pretty well covers it. It is a fairly simple product in terms of how it's targeted at this problem, but printing remains a challenge just in terms of the time it takes to manage. And so having this targeted solution makes perfect sense, and administrators can realize the gains of that pretty much right away.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. Well, Andrew, thank you so much. I think we'll go ahead and call this a podcast. I loved it. It's not to the point, and it's guys listening, please definitely check this thing out. Head over to Tricerat.com and have a download, and away you go. So, Andrew, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Doug.
Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. As always, I want to thank my guest for today, Andrew. And like I said, we are going to be doing a series with these guys and talking to me. You know, Tricerat's been around a long time, and there's a lot of wealth of knowledge over there, and some great products that they make. And so I'm looking forward to, diving through. Instead of having one really long podcast, we're going to try to break these things up and make them more precise and to the point, and share with you technologies versus, try to just hammer it all there. But at the end of the day, as you guys know, printing is still a problem, and if we can ease the management or solve the problems, if you still have issues with actual printing itself, getting the paper out of the machine, then it's important. And I'm sort of preaching to the choir out there, shaking your head. Yeah, Doug, it's still important. You think it would have been solved, but it is. You just go to a third party and you solve it. And so I like what these guys are doing with the management of it, because at the end of the day, that's at the end of the day, if we can solve, your management woes and in your technical woes, well, we solved a major problem. And that's what I love about what a lot of people are doing, specifically Tricerat too, is that, they see these gaps and they fill them and they make your days, your life and your day easier so you can be off and running. So, what do I say? Thanks so much again, Andrew, for taking the time to do this. And I look forward to the next podcast we have with you guys to dive deeper into what you guys are doing with the different solutions you guys are making. So on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening to DABCC Radio. Without you, well, I'm just some guy talking to Andrew by ourselves. And I do that. I do a lot of calls where I just, get briefings and what have you. And those are always fun. But a lot of times I'll say, hey, don't brief me. Let's do a podcast because then we can share it with everyone. And so we can brief the world instead of just briefing me. I'm nobody. All you guys are what's important. So that's what I try to do here. If you like it, please tell a friend, tweet about it, share it, send the email to somebody saying, hey, check out the ABCC Radio. Here's the link. And I would greatly appreciate that. I'd love you like a brother or a sister. I'd love you like a brother or a sister. Hey to my brothers and my sisters. So, so what else do I say? But thank you guys so much for listening to DABCC.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.